So we live in this world of sleek digital perfection, right? So why on earth are some people, audiophiles, still chasing this warm glow from technology that's from the 1960s? It's really a battle of philosophies. You could call it a tale of two amps. And today, we're going to dive right into that rivalry, the vacuum tube versus the transistor, to figure out why that old school sound still has such a powerful hold on us.
You know, when audio expert Steve Guttenberg fired up this one piece of gear from 1965, he said it wasn't just about hearing the music, he said it was like time traveling. And that feeling, that's our starting point for this whole thing. We're going to step right into that time machine with him to really get our heads around one of the most passionate debates in all of audio history.
All right, so here it is. Meet our time machine, the McIntosh 1500 stereo receiver. And listen, this is not just some old box of wires. Think of it more like a technological fossil. It perfectly captures that exact moment in time when the warm analog past basically collided head-on with the sharp, solid-state future.
1965. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The Beatles were ruling the airwaves. The tech we all carry around in our pockets today, pure science fiction. This machine was born in that world, and that context is absolutely crucial to understanding what makes it tick.
But you know, the real story here is what's under the hood. See, the McIntosh 1500 wasn't just some relic of the past. Nope, it was a hybrid, kind of like a Frankenstein's monster of audio tech. And it perfectly captured this moment of massive, massive change.
Okay, so here's the key to the whole thing. It had a foot in both camps. The tuner and the power amp, that was all pure vacuum tube, the old, tried and true technology. But the preamp section, that was powered by the new kid on the block, solid-state transistors. It was literally a bridge between two eras, all crammed into one box.
And that hybrid design, it just perfectly sets the stage for the main event. We're talking about the big clash, the battle between two completely different ways of making sound louder. And this wasn't just some nerdy technical debate either. This was a full-blown revolution that was going to shape the entire future of electronics.
So first up, you've got the reigning monarch, the vacuum tube, or as some folks call it, a valve. The easiest way to think about it is like a specialized light bulb. It uses heat to get electrons flowing inside a vacuum, and what it does is it takes a tiny little electrical signal and makes it powerful enough to actually drive a speaker. For decades, this thing was the undisputed king. And then came the challenger, the transistor. Now, it does the exact same job, but its methods are totally revolutionary. It's solid state, which basically just means that electricity flows through solid crystals. So no vacuum, no fragile little filament, and, this is the big one, it's a tiny fraction of the size. So check out this timeline. It shows you just how fast the future arrived. I mean, for 40 years, the tube was king. Then boom, 1947, the transistor shows up. And then in just over a decade after that, we get the MOSFET. That's the tiny little switch that powers, well, virtually every single digital device we own today. The game didn't just change, it was completely rewritten from the ground up.
But look, this whole thing wasn't just about efficiency and size. Not at all. This was a battle for the soul of sound itself. Why? Because these two technologies, they don't just work differently, they sound profoundly different. And this, right here, is where the debate gets really personal. If you ever listen to audiophiles talk about this stuff, you'll hear the two camps right away. They describe tube sound with words like warm, rich, even musical, almost like it's alive. Solid state, on the other hand, gets praised for being clear, precise, and accurate, like a crystal clear window right into the music itself.
And believe it or not, all those romantic-sounding words actually have a scientific backbone. It really all comes down to distortion. See, tubes tend to create what are called even-order harmonics, and our brains just happen to interpret those as musically pleasant, as warmth. Transistors, though, they create odd-order harmonics, which, if you push them too hard, can sound kind of harsh or clinical. It's basically the difference between a gentle, warm saturation and a really sharp edge.
Okay, so let's jump back to that time machine, the McIntosh. Guttenberg's words, remember? Big and bloomy, expansive. Those perfectly describe that classic tube sound. It's not about surgical precision at all. It's about creating this rich, immersive atmosphere you can just get lost in. So, okay, the sound is special. We get it. But what's it actually like to live with a piece of tech that's over 50 years old? Because, let me tell you, the romance of vintage sound, well, it comes with some very real-world baggage. Okay, look at it this way. On one side, you've got tubes. They need regular maintenance, they're fragile, they get super hot, and yeah, they can be expensive. On the other side, you've got solid state, super reliable, way more affordable, tough as nails, and crazy efficient. I mean, on paper, it looks like it's no contest, right? And Gutenberg's little time travel trip definitely came with some turbulence. He was dealing with his a noisy tuner, and connectors that were, and I'm quoting here, a pain in the ass to hook it up. And a remote control, yeah, forget about it. These aren't just charming little quirks, they are genuine, real-world hassles.
So after all that, it really all comes down to this. This isn't just about choosing a piece of hardware. It's bigger than that. It's about choosing a philosophy. It's about you deciding what you truly value in your music.
So now that you've seen the history, the science, and yeah, all the headaches, where do you stand? Is the magic of that vintage tube sound really worth all the compromise?
It really just boils down to two different paths, two philosophies. Are you someone who's chasing musical character, that warmth, that personality, that special something that colors the sound? Or are you more of a purist, someone who's seeking technical perfection, a completely uncolored, totally unaltered window right into the original recording?
And all of this leaves us with one final big question to chew on. In our modern age of perfect data, where every tiny flaw can be digitally erased, what's the value of a beautiful flaw? Maybe the real appeal of the vacuum tube is its imperfection. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.